none other than
Ray Simpson, the lead hot cop from the Village People.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Hey, Ray, this is Fro Daddy calling you live from Cleveland, Tennessee, known as the Little Vegas, down here on the east side of Chattanooga.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
I got my sidekick with me. You probably can't see him if you're on the internet. He's the little short man over in the corner.
Hello, Ray. How you doing, brother?
Who's this?
This is the Matador.
Can It Recycling here in Cleveland at 1700 South Lee Highway. That's just up the hill from Scott's Furniture. On the right, look for the blinking red light. 472-6501. 60 cents a pound for your cans and all metal for recycling. Check out their website at can-itrecycling.com. That's can-itrecycling.com. Larry and Brenda have been bringing recycling in the family business to Cleveland for over 28 years. Family owned and operated, we take care of our own here at Whoop Radio. 1700 South Lee Highway. That's Can It Recycling, just up the hill on the right from Scott's Furniture. Look for the blinking red light. And don't forget, folks, every Wednesday is Can Bonus, where you get a nickel more. That's 65 cents a pound. Check them out on Wednesday. Tell them Whoop sent you. Can It Recycling.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
I remember when I was 12, I'd walk to town with my brother Alan. With $1.50, we were on our way. About halfway, we'd stop at 5 Point. With a nickel, we'd buy a real cherry Coke. And a day out on the town lasted all day. Ooh, where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall. Ooh, where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old, or just me?
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553, and we've had one of those days already. The computers didn't work. This didn't work. There's a flood outside the bistro. Besides that, everything's going great. Dad, tell us what's going on.
Well, it has been an exciting morning. Good morning, everyone. It is September the 20th. We had a big time in Cleveland last night. We had a lot of interesting things going on. The Village People were down at the Museum Center, along with lots of muscle cars sitting outside. And I was down.
There's a lot of muscle cars at the Cleveland Speedway last night, too.
There sure was. I tell you what, folks, what an exciting night it was. The folks selling tickets as I was leaving last night at 10 o'clock, and there were people still coming in at that time, a few people coming in, told me that they had sold 2,000 adult tickets, and every person there had 2 or 3 kids with them. And then the pits, there was 100 cars.
Well, that's a
big crowd down in the pits too, and it was just a fun, exciting night. Everybody was glad to be there. And
Bobby Orr done some announcing from the old days.
Bobby Orr did, and it just brought you back to that 1970s time that you could just hear him. But now I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It wasn't quite as exciting, I think, as watching those crazy Friar Boys drive back in the 60s and 70s. But it was good. But it was very, very good.
Superstar. So that's every Friday night, only $10 to get in. So Cleveland Speedway, some history being sold.
History being sold.
Well, yes, sold or restored, saved, whatever word, you know.
Word.
You see how this goes here. We want to introduce our guest here in just a minute. Also, saving history. My friend Billy Berger has 10 old-fashioned wooden windows that are in good shape. They rebuild the house. He wants to give those away. He don't want to throw them away. So if you're have some kind of creative thing or building some old house back, he has 10 old windows. They all still work. Give us a call here, and we'll get you Billy Berger's number or get Billy to get a hold of you. Absolutely free. All you got to do is come get them. So that's the best deal I've heard all day. Deb, who we got with us over here?
We have Gary Miller.
Famous guy now.
Famous guy.
Yeah, famous. Legend.
Infamous.
Infamous. That might be the good word.
We have Gary Miller with us, and he grew up out in the Hopewell community. And in the recent years, you may not have noticed, but you'll be looking for him now. He's appeared in a lot of big movies. He was in 42. And he's going to tell us all the behind-the-scenes things that went on.
He was in Weatherman, Anchorman, too.
Anchorman, too.
I've got working around Will Ferrell had to be just unbelievable, just anywhere there. And then Hunger Games.
Yes.
And you got a new project he can't tell us about yet. So he's got that. So Gary,
here's my first question, Gary. What did you think when they put that polyester suit on you in Anchorman?
Well, that's an interesting story that I'm almost ashamed to tell you about.
That wasn't your clothes, was it?
Actually, it was. when they called me and said we've got it's called a featured extra role, which means you don't have lines, but you're going to be clearly on camera and visible. The casting director told me a little bit about it, and I laughed and I said, I've got something that wardrobe might like. She said, when you come down to Atlanta for the wardrobe fitting, she said, bring it with you. So I went down there and
something like that.
Yeah. I see on your webcam there. Back in 1973, when I was going to UTC, I worked at Ira Trivers, and I bought a Jack Nicklaus blazer, that bright yellow blazer, with the Sansabelt slacks, the plaid green and white slacks to go with it. And I had put it back in the closet, and I've worn it a couple of times since then over the years to like costume parties.
Yeah.
And the wardrobe people just went bananas. They could not believe it. They called all the other wardrobe people and said, "Can you believe the condition of this?" And they were impressed that I could still fit in it after all these years. So it was.
And polyester lasts forever.
It's
sort of like Twinkies.
You're exactly right. There's no shelf life.
Now, Gary, tell us who your parents was. You grew up out in the Hopewell area, right?
Virgil and Sarah Miller lived out, and I want to say hi to my mom this morning, who's listening, Sarah Miller. And I've got a lot of family listening this morning. I've got my Aunt Juanita and my sister Janice Baker and my daughters.
Janice Baker is your sister.
Yes.
I just realized that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I knew that, but that had just completely.
Yeah. That had left him.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things have left me too.
My wife Sherry is watching, along with my daughter Rachel and Sarah, and my granddaughter, 9-year-old granddaughter Daisy, and son-in-law Jimmy, and I've got a cousin of mine, Dennis Miller. I'll say hi to him on Facebook this morning. He said, "I'll be watching you." So at that time, I realized, they've got webcams.
I'm sorry you didn't wear the yellow blazer this morning.
So we have 10 listeners this morning, then, don't we?
At
least 10.
At least that with my family, but it's fun.
So now you went to Hopewell School.
Went to Hopewell, then went on to Bradley. Of course, was there with you. Graduated class of '71.
I'm younger. I don't look younger, but I am younger. I'm the '72 class.
Right.
Oh, our county trustee, Mr. Mike Smith, told me to tell you hello this morning.
Mike was the good friend and starting quarterback on the football team back then.
That's why they were 4 and 6, I think, that year. I mean, if you're listening, Mike, and I know you are. So.
It was a tough schedule that year.
It was. It was tough all those years we were up there. So now, who was your grandparents? When did your family get into Bradley County, or where did they come from?
Well, on the Miller side, Joe Miller from the Athens area came into Bradley County, and then the Hinkles and the Blackburns, have been in Bradley County for generations. And so Walter and Fanny Hinkle were my grandparents that live up over close to Elmont Church, off in Rabbit Valley Road and that area over there. That's where my Aunt Juanita still lives today.
So you're related to the Blackburns from Red Hill United down in that area?
I believe it's a different group.
Yeah, because that group was here 1837 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's
or it may be the same group and it's so far back you don't know.
Could very well be.
I went to school with Hinkle and
Jimmy,
and he passed away.
Yeah, my cousin, Jim, first cousin.
He married Juanita.
Chiquita
Five.
Yes.
I'm going, I never
Now,
realized
Gary, this is what we do.
Yeah,
Ron can tell you what kind of car they drove.
Yeah. And
he can tell you where they worked, where they lived, but he can't remember their name.
Well, that's true, thing. But I'm always worried about the hereafter. I go in the kitchen and say, "What am I?
What am I here after?"
Yeah.
What did I come in here after?
So, so you went on to UTC, and then tell me what you did after UTC.
Went into actually got my degree in education. Never taught. My wife's a teacher. She taught 31 years in Hamilton County. Retired, and this is her 10th year in Georgia.
Right.
But I went into sales and management and business development. So I worked in the steel industry for a lot of years, and then worked for length of time for a purchasing consortium out of Chicago, and did a lot of traveling with that, and I've started and grown and sold a couple of companies over the last 20 years, and then right now I'm the CEO of Business Owners Benefits Association, which is a nonprofit organization finding cost savings for small businesses and other nonprofit organizations. So that's what I do full time and keeps me busy, and then the movie thing has just turned into something that's been just a fun hobby.
How did you get started? I mean, 42 was your first project?
Yes.
I mean, did you decide I was going to go down and be an extra, or what happened?
That's exactly the way it started. This is an example of how people get in a comfort zone and aren't willing to step out and do something. And if you do, then there's no telling what doors open up for you. I was in my office, was listening to talk radio in Chattanooga. It was 10:30 in the morning, and Missy Crutchfield from the mayor's office came on and was talking about that today they were doing the casting at Eastgate Mall from 11 to 4, looking for extras to sit in the stands. And I'm sitting there, and I've always been a baseball guy, and Sherry and I go to a lot of movies, and I thought, well, what fun would that be to see how a baseball movie was made? So just put down what I was doing, went to Eastgate, stood in line. There were already
millions.
There were hundreds of people there, but stood in line. They gave you a clipboard and paper, and while you were moving in line, you filled it out. They had a couple of cameras there, people taking shots. So you would go, they would take a close-up facial, a full body, and a profile. You handed them the paper, and boom, you were gone. That was it. So I did that night. When I got home, I told Sherry what I did, and we both laughed about it. And then she said, "Well, did you put down that you had acting experience and also umpired baseball?" And I laughed. I said, "No." And she said, "Well, you were at Bradley High School. Your sophomore, junior, and senior year, you were in the class night plays."
Yes.
And I said, "Yeah, but that was a million years ago, and it's been a long time since I did the baseball umpiring."
I was a thespian too.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so she said, "Well, and submit that to the casting company." And I said, "Seriously?" She said, "Yeah, seriously." So I did, and weeks went by, nothing. And I was really disappointed because I thought, well, I was hoping to sit in the stands and be able to see that. Then late one afternoon, I got a text, and it said, "Can you be in Atlanta Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock to audition for an umpire's role?"
Wow.
And I said, yes.
And you had to laugh.
Oh, couldn't believe it. it's one of those. So I thought, no, this is interesting. So I go down to Atlanta, go to the
and
address.
You think, I'm going to do this just for the experience.
You're absolutely right, because when I get there are like 18 to 20 other guys there that are umpires. Everybody are real umpires. And so they had a conference room set up. We're out, it's kind of stereotypical. We're sitting out here in the chairs, and one at a time, the casting director would bring us into the conference room where the director, Brian Heglin, who is like the nicest guy in the world, was sitting. And so I was about halfway through. So each umpire that would go in, he would spend about 15 minutes with them. And then they would come out, and boom, they were gone. So when it was my time, I go in, and casting director introduces me. We, chat for a second. He asked me a few baseball questions. He has me give an out call, a safe call, and a couple more questions. And he says, "It's really nice to meet you." And she just, the casting director, Rose, says, "Thank you very much. We'll let you know." And boom, I'm out the door. I looked down at my watch. I've been in there 7 minutes.
You said, "Oh,
and I exactly. I thought, well, it was fun. I get back on the road from Atlanta, give Sherry a call, and we'll laugh. And I said, well, I can actually say that I, went on an audition with a real Hollywood director, because Brian Heglin, the writer and director of 42, he's an Academy Award-winning writer for L.A. Confidential. So he's big time Hollywood. But so a couple of weeks go by, and I get an email. And it says, be at so-and-so for your fitting. You've been chosen as an umpire.
How exciting is that?
So,
and you had to just laugh again.
Everything, the whole process has been so surreal. It truly has. So, go get the umpire fitting. The wardrobe that they used for 42 was authentic. The caps, the jackets were the wool from the 40s, down to the details of the whisk broom, and even the ball and strike counter was the old Bakelite, like the old radios were made of. It was the white Bakelite that was from the late 1940s. So they really went out of their way to make sure that everything was totally authentic.
Was that outfit hot?
It was extremely hot.
Yeah.
So whenever they would call cut, well, the jackets immediately came off, and you would hold them until they would set for the scene.
So now, after all that, everything, how much time did you get on camera? I mean, when the film come out, how many seconds or minutes or hours were you on screen?
I left my first moment on screen is. I said that the editor knew what he was doing because my head was cut off. But when they have when they have the opening scene when Jackie goes to the majors, and they have the opening day scene, the first scene is you've got an umpire that's holding the cap with his hand over his heart, and that's me. Okay. That's my hand, and from there. I'm in a number of different scenes. When I guess the most memorable one is the scene where Jackie is verbally assaulted by the opposing team's manager, where he says all the most horrible racial insults that you can imagine. I'm the home plate umpire in that scene, so you can see me numerous times, briefly, but recognizably in several of the different cuts there.
And you said they'd done that cut over and over and over, and he said something different almost every time?
Yes. He was ad-libbing everything that he was saying. He had prepared a lot of the different racial insults, but each time he would use different ones, so they would have the different things to choose from.
Ron, just in case someone doesn't know about the movie 42, give them a brief
Jackie
synopsis.
Robinson was a black baseball player in the black baseball leagues, and Branch Rickey decided to bring him up in the first black baseball player ever to play in the professional baseball. And it was somewhat controversial. In the North, it was a little bit more accepted. When they come down to play in the South, he had team players that wouldn't want to play with him, didn't want to shower, didn't want to be on the bus with him, and then he got a lot of abuse. And The guy that played was sitting. My son worked on 42. He didn't have any on camera. He did all the grunt work behind the scenes back there. But he sit with that guy, and that guy practiced his racial slurs with my son sitting there, and my son was going, "I'm going to die," because he's all those racial things
Stuff
he was yelling.
you shouldn't say.
Yeah, and he asked my son, he said, well, "What's that song?" Well, my son's 20 years old. And of course, a different era than what you and I grew up. We probably heard more of those racial slurs growing up when we were younger, and definitely our parents would have heard more. My son's never used those words or terms like that, and he's going, "Well, I don't know." And he said, and the actor was very good at it, doing it too. I mean, he really.
And
got
I think
into his
people
act.
that were just the extras that were sitting up in the stand said it was so uncomfortable, having to hear that. And as you said, they did it over and over and over again.
Well, the director would preface everything when they were about to do the shoot, and said and explain to everybody what was about to happen, and said, if this is going to upset you, we ask you to go ahead and exit the set now. So you won't be penalized, but this is going to be painful.
Yes,
but this is authentic of what this and more of what he endured.
It was.
And he was selected because they thought he could take that.
Exactly.
And it wasn't necessarily that he was the best ball player.
Well, yeah, and Branch Rickey told him that he had to take it. I mean, if he wanted Blank to play baseball, that he was going to have to be the example forever and take it. And he had his life threatened and all that. And
it's a very important piece of history, and it was a very important story, well told. I know that there were several times I was privileged to have the opportunity to talk to Brian Hagelin, the director, during the shoot at different times, and listen to him talking with other people. And there were some of the scenes when it was being set up, he would give some direction because he wanted to make sure that Rachel, he referred to Rachel a lot, who was Jackie's wife, who was still living. And he wanted to make sure that she would be pleased with what she was seeing on the screen, that it was done correctly.
So now, of course, I've been involved in some of the Chattanooga Film Society and talking about how much money was brought into Chattanooga, and there was $250,000 worth of lumber bought from one lumber company to build the green screens around the.
And that was just one company.
And with that was the lumber, but with the actual labor and everything that else that went into it, it was the number I heard on set was close to $750,000 that was ultimately spent on that, and that's with local people.
And they did a lot of things to help save Ingle Stadium too.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, Ingle Stadium's foundation or association, it just was to say this helped save this ballpark.
So there's a tremendous amount of I see where the money goes now when you hear about these big budget Hollywood movies with all the little expenses. An example, one of the Chattanooga hotels, they provided the dishes and the silverware for the meals for the cast and crew, and I can't say I know how much they got paid, and it was a huge amount of money because every morning and lunchtime they would pick them up, take them back, wash them, bring it back at night. So there's as far as the economic impact to the people in the area, tremendous opportunities when these filmmakers come into town.
Well, the state of Tennessee, and a little political here, I don't get into much thing, but they say that these movies coming into Tennessee don't make any money for the state of Tennessee and cost Tennessee money. I don't understand how that happens.
Well, they
I know the film companies want some financial breaks when they come in, but
sure,
tax-wise,
right. But tax-wise, but the people who are saying that have obviously never been on a set and seen where the money is spent and gotten to see the companies working.
And what an experience it brings to local folks.
And I think one of the things that I don't know, it's just that. You film for a little while, then you may sit around for a long time, do you not?
That is, on 42 was the first time I heard the expression from several different times from the actors, and I laughed because it is so true. And the actors in the industry, the expression is, you get paid to wait and you act for free. Because there's a tremendous amount of time sitting around and watching, because every time they set up a scene, you're waiting, and then you do the scene, and it may take up to 20 minutes for them to reset to do it again. Sometimes they can go right away. So during the whole process, on 42, we were fortunate from the standpoint with the extras is we got to sit up in the stands so you could see what was going on. On the other projects I've worked on, the movies, they typically have either a room or a big tent where the extras will go between scenes and sit there with the folding tables and chairs.
There were a lot of people that were dressed in the event. I don't know what event, but they sat in, off the set, and our son was kind of in charge of those people, and he said the hours just ticked by so slowly, just sitting there.
Yes.
And all of them hoping that they were going to get selected to go out and sit in the stands, and some of them did.
Yeah.
Some
I know
of
Will
them
checked in a lot of the people coming in to sit in the stands, and he would have to say, okay, you look period, or no go to wardrobe and do that.
Yes.
And
hair and wardrobe.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that I really enjoyed on 42 was in the mornings when you would come in, the ladies would come in and they would be in their curlers, or they'd be in their everyday clothes and jeans and T-shirts and everything, and then they would go to wardrobe and makeup and they would walk out. Wow.
Yeah.
Will got the nicest haircut he'd ever had.
What a glamorous era. I mean, they
Yes.
all look like movie stars. I mean,
And
it was amazing.
Even the fans come dressed a little nicer than what we would go to a ball game, or what probably nicer than people go to church now.
Yeah, in that era, you
Yeah.
had the men wore suits, ties,
Yeah.
and hats, and but it was really interesting. And besides the waiting, the days are long. There's nothing really glamorous about the.
I think that's the key point.
It's interesting, but there's nothing really glamorous about it. You typically. Your call time, and that's when you've got to be there to check in.
Yeah.
Can be anywhere from 5 to 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's usually between 5:30, 6 or 6:30. So that's when you come in, you fill out your paperwork, because every day you have to fill out a different piece of paper to turn in. You go to wardrobe, give them the paper. You get your outfit, you put it on, and then you come back and you sit and wait until you're called to the set. And typically the days run from anywhere from, if you're finished by 6 o'clock in the evening, that's a short day. They can run as late as 9 o'clock, and sometimes there are night shoots. But most of the time you're looking at 12-hour plus days. So by the time you get home and get a bite to eat, it's time to go to bed, because you're going to be getting up anywhere from 3:30, 4:30
I
in the
think
morning.
what
to
amazed
get to
Will is after you guys left there at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, someone would come in and paint all the handrails at the park to make it look like a different place, or would do cosmetic things to the field.
Well, they would actually, some days they would do that between shots. You'd have an hour when they would be doing setup, and they would be, going from one ballpark to the next, and the rails would have to be different. So the painters would be out there, changing it from orange to black or to green. And just working, those people, they earned their keep there. They did a lot of hard work very quickly.
Now, I know you get some interaction with the, Will actually went to college and took some classes and said, avoid the pit where the director is. If you're working on there, don't go be standing behind the shot when it's going on and you get caught in there, or have your cell phone ring. But what did your reaction to the people, the actors that you did get to interact with? I mean, were these people, or did they have the big head?
I can't say that I really, with any of the sets that I've been on, ran into any prima donnas. The ones that had, were too full of themselves. I got to know Lucas Black, who played Pee Wee Reese, who's right now he's on NCIS New Orleans, the new show.
Right.
And he grew up over in the Decatur, Alabama area, and we were out on the field a lot together. And nicest kid in the world. We talked a lot. Chad Bozeman, in 42, nice guy. Just down to earth. Harrison Ford, interesting story. The craft tent, and that's where the food is for the actors and the crew. I went over one afternoon. It was hot, and I thought I'm gonna get a Powerade, and so I walked to the Kraft tent, which was right there off the third base side of Ingalls Stadium, right behind the stands. First time I'd ever walked over there, and nobody was there at all. And I walked over the far side, and they had all these coolers set up, and I reached in and picked up Powerade. And when I turned back around, at the Kraft table there was Harrison Ford and his personal assistant standing there. He was, Harrison was in a cap and T-shirt and his blue jeans.
Yeah.
And I had to walk by there to get back to where I was going, and so I just simply said, Mr. Ford, welcome to Chattanooga. Everybody's really excited for you to be here. And he looked up and smiled, and he said, well, I'm happy to be here. This is going to be a fun shoot. Chattanooga looks like a really nice town. And then later on, when another part of the story later on, when Sherry and I we got to go to Hollywood at the after party, we were walking there, and he was turning out of a conversation and almost ran into me. And he looked up and recognized me and said hello, and I got to introduce Sherry to him, and we stood there for a couple of minutes talking before someone else came up to say hello. But these are just regular people in extraordinary situations.
Our son was going down a salad bar or food line or something, and he didn't recognize Harrison Ford from behind. And, of course, he had on kind of a padded suit or something in the actual shooting.
Part, yeah.
And they kind of both reached for the same role. And then Will was like, oh, I'm sorry. But he said he was really, really nice. Really, really nice.
Now, when he's on set,
he's in character.
He's in character.
Sure he is.
So he, compared to a lot of the others, even between scenes, pretty much when he's on set, the only one that speaks to him or he speaks to is the director. Mm-hmm. Because he is completely and totally focused. Now that's something different that I didn't see in a lot of the other actors.
Well, let me ask you this: so, does anyone prep you and say, now, let's not ask for autographs or don't bother the director, or do you just do they just kind of sense that you will know not to do that?
No, when you first get there and they bring all the extras first day in the tent where everybody's assembled, they give you all the rules, the do's and don'ts. Mm-hmm. And one of the don'ts is don't be that guy, and that's the expression in the industry, is that guy. When the actors are on the set, don't try to strike up a conversation. Don't speak to unless spoken. If you're spoken to, if they initiate a conversation, fine. Don't stare at them, like they're a monkey in a cage or something. Don't make them uncomfortable. So, so you just, and it sounds odd, but once you're on set and you're focused and you're working, you don't become that awestruck. You're focused on doing the job, and because that's what you see, that's what they're doing too. Because that's their career, that's their work.
So when you're doing the umpire scenes, did they direct you any there, or you were just told to? Another
good story. Another good story. There were two. There was Brian Heglin, who was the main director of the movie. There was a director. Alan Graff, who was the baseball unit director, gruff, burly guy, and so he had the control on the film, and so or on the field. So we're out there, and the first 4 days. Let me take a step back. There were 14 days of filming in Chattanooga. I worked all 14 days, but on the fourth day of filming, one of the other umpires, Jim Reynolds from Chattanooga, was a friend of mine. There was a shot that was about to be being set up, and Jim was there next to the directors, and the directors were talking about it, and they were saying, it needs to be done like this, and Jim just made the comment. He said, actually, to be accurate, it needs to, this needs to be done. And Alan turns around and looks at him and says, and I suppose you're a director? And Jim at that point realized what he had done, and he just throws his hands up and said, no sir, not me, not me. And they go on. Now, I heard afterwards, and this came the next morning, I found this out, that evidently Alan said something to someone about that and he used some very colorful language, I understand. He did not know that we were all actual umpires. He thought we were just extras. And so at that point, from that point on, the entire shoot, he was apologetic. He said, guys, you do your job. If we need to move you for a camera angle, we'll let you know. And if we're doing something wrong, you let us know. And also at that time, he moved us up from, going to breakfast or lunch with the rest of the extras and invited us with the cast and crew. So we got to enjoy that.
And it may have worked out well because Jim handled it well.
He did.
He wasn't argumentative, and he just said, "Woo!"
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, folks, you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're going to open the phones here. I've got something from you from the Cleveland Daily Banner. It says, live Saturday at 10 a.m., Old Town Cleveland, hosted by Ron W. Moore, September 20th. The show is Gary Miller, actor.
Now, that's a stretch.
Gary has done what we encourage people to do. He took pictures and his memories of being on the set of 42, and he's made. Did you do those on like Shutterbug or something?
Exactly. Yeah.
You can just go and submit your pictures, and he's written his daughter's books to tell of his experience, which is wonderful. Let's get this call.
Hey, go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hello, Rob.
Hey, Miss Ella, how are you?
Hey, I'm in Cleveland.
You're in Cleveland?
Yeah, I got in this morning. And guess what?
What's going on, Miss Ella?
They couldn't find my suitcases. I don't know if I'll get them Monday next week or what.
Oh, well, welcome to the world of travel.
Were you drunk when you put them on the bus?
Yes, I put them up there beside the bus, and they were supposed to put them on the bus.
Miss Ella, I went to Ireland one time for about 10 or 11 days, and they lost all of my underwear on the first day, so it was an interesting trip because they don't have Walmarts in Ireland.
Oh, my God. Well, I don't have nothing to wear if I don't get them back.
Well, they'll probably show up Monday.
I can tell you what you need to do.
What?
Call Mark and he'll take you shopping.
Or he'll give you some clothes out of the bottom of the funeral home.
Oh, yeah.
I hear they got some really nice outfits up there, Miss Ella. He might have a red dress for you.
He was picked to me.
Oh, well, he'll get over it. He's just playing hard to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he just likes to hurt me. It makes him feel like a man to hurt a woman.
Oh. Well, we'll have to have a talk to him about that. Well, Miss Ella, we're glad you're back in town, and we hope your suitcase comes around pretty soon.
Yeah.
You have a good time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, folks, don't forget, if you need some old windows, wooden windows out of an old house, Billy Berger has 10 of them he wants to give away. He was just going to take them to the dump. He says, no, someone may want to do an art project with those or have an old barn or something, need some windows at. Absolutely free. All you got to do is go pick them up. That's the hard part there. Mm-hmm. And give us a call here at Whoop, and we'll tell you how to get a hold of Billy Berger, or we'll take your number and have Billy call you. What else is going on today? If your family ever grew up in Tinga, Georgia, go down 411 as you go across the line down there. The Tinga, Georgia reunion is the day there at the Tinga Baptist Church. So if you're an Epperson, a Dunn, a Keith, Hedricks, Haze's, and you're down from that part of the...
Or you're just curious.
Tinga is an interesting place. You know, it's so small that they said lots for sale, call Bob. Don't even put a phone number.
It's a big sign in the middle of town.
And nobody knows Bob, of course.
I said, turn around. I got to take a picture of that sign. But we're at the Tinga reunions today, and if you're interested, it might be a little bit late for this, but up at the Cades Cove Museum in Blount County, right there on the highway, they're having a Cades Cove reunion today, all day there. Old Timers Day will be next Saturday in Townsend. And
Trevina reunion is today also.
It sure is. And Polo polo match is going on
Yes.
as we speak.
New
And then
Mexico and the United States, an international match today. That's it started at 10. Tomorrow the gates open at 12, and from 2 the matches are at 2. It's about an hour and a half. If you've never been to a polo match, you ought to be down there.
The farm's beautiful.
And like I say, this is a international polo match. The U.S. team and the Mexico team will be here in Cleveland, Tennessee, playing a polo match. It's free. You can't beat that price. It's down at Benevout Farms. And when you get there, they furnish you free Cokes and water. So what a deal. And we went out last Sunday and had a ball, took a ton of pictures. If you're a camera bug and got a good camera, you got to go down and you can get some unbelievable shots, things you don't normally get in Cleveland, Tennessee. So that's free.
Ron, I want to say congratulations to the Red Hill United Methodist Church. I went down last Sunday. They are celebrating their 150th year. And that's the 150th year of being with the Methodist Church. That actually was a campground and a brush arbor when the Cherokees were still here. And so it's been in that same location for 175 plus years. So congratulations to them. We had a nice little celebration. And if it hasn't run yet, there should be an article in the newspaper pretty soon. And I also want to say our friends at Cherokee Valley Antique Car Club, they're having a show today from 9 to 1 up at the Bradley Square Mall out behind Durham Sporting Goods. Go up and see them. You'll see some really unique cars.
Yeah, and that's a club that when you come out, they judge the cars on how original they are. They're not these chopped up versions. They want you to bring an antique car that is original.
True.
And they go through and look at every bolt and everything in there to see if it's original, and that's how you win the best of the show. And like I say, don't forget Cleveland Speedway now open again. Opened up the first time last night. 2,000 people paid at the front door.
At least.
And then 100 cars. That's a big
It was
group
an
of cars.
exciting night. It was a real exciting night.
They had some wrecks. They had storytelling for the kids. They gave away flags to the kids last night. They had a great bologna sandwich in the...
it was a sandwich.
Sandwich, that's right. And...
I stood in line so long. Now, I will tell you, the concession stand was being it was being efficiently ran. It was just a lot of people there. So I stood in line a little while. So while I was there, I thought I better get everything I ever thought I might need.
They even cleaned the bathrooms down
They
there.
even cleaned the bathrooms.
I mean, they really went, first class.
So I had eaten healthy all week to have a bologna sandwich and Fritos last night, which was not a good thing. Ron, we're booked pretty much all the way till November 29th for our shows, and I really appreciate everybody that's agreed to come on. A couple of these people I've got to call back and confirm, but one fella that everybody wanted us to bring back, I think is going to be here October 4th. That is 99-year-old Mr. Ogle.
Yes.
Claude Ogle.
And then sometime in November, the Supreme Court Justice of the Cherokee Nation will be here with us.
Troy will be here
So
in
we
late
have-
November.
So we have some we have big people. We have an actor today. We got Supreme Court Justice. And
Next week we'll have somebody talking about how to bake a possum. I mean,
you
just
can call us
all
here.
kinds of things
If
here.
you got any questions about movie making, and we're going to talk about some of the other movies of them, but behind the scenes stuff and what he found and didn't find. I know my son gets tickled about. He went and done Nashville. He got his 2 or 3 seconds. He got his shoe and his elbow.
Spent 12 hours
and
filming.
And he was sitting there, just sitting around between shots, and there's guys, a guitar player sitting around. My son's a guitar player, and he's sitting there listening. And this guy starts talking, and finally my son looks at him and says, "You're one of the original Eagles, aren't you?" And he says, "Yes." He was sitting there talking about Don Henley and the songs he wrote, and he went,
Don and I wrote,
And he said, "You're one of the original Eagles." My son is a huge Eagles fan. He said he didn't ask for an autograph or anything, but he sat there and he said, "I try to keep my mouth shut." I was going,
yeah.
So, but he had a lot of fun.
Gary, where did you go, to elementary school?
I went to Hopewell.
Mm-hmm. And who were some of your teachers out there? Boy, expecting you to dust off some things and remember that, huh?
All right, let's
Who's your
start
favorite?
with grade 1 was Miss Ross. Grade 2 was
Miss E.L. Ross?
Miss
Wow.
Willie Vinson, 2nd grade. Ollie Hooper, 3rd. Miss Roddy, 4th. Judy Gibson, 5th. Don Farmer, 6th. Amanda Jackson, 7th. And then Judy Gibson again in the 8th.
I don't remember what
All
I
right,
had for
Ron, go
breakfast.
ahead. No.
Miss Melvin, Miss Lacey, Miss
Now, Miss Lacey is
third grade. I can't remember. Lee was fourth. York was fifth. Gosh, who was?
and you know what, Ron?
Mr.
I bet they remember you too.
Oh yeah, they remember. Well, they don't. They remember. They remember a little guy named Bobby Goodner who. I was the guy that told him all the good things that you ought to do, and he'd went and do it, and then I'd see what kind of trouble he got into. So I was the smart one and let everybody else
the
get
quiet
trouble.
one, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
who was your favorite teacher? I mean, of all times, who do you think, or who's somebody that influenced you?
Probably at Bradley there were a lot of good teachers there, but the two that had the most impact, one had so much impact with everybody senior year of English was Miss Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
She really put the world in a different perspective and taught you some critical thinking. But I took drafting classes when I was there, and Mr. Ernest Adams.
Yes.
Did you get to strap on one of those? Were those slide rules?
I was a member of the slide rule club. Didn't really understand how to work it, but I was a member of the club. But Mr. Adams really instilled a work ethic, and he was a tremendous teacher. What a great guy! What a great guy! I was fortunate to know him.
And what class plays were you in? What was your senior year?
I believe the senior year.
Was you in the play, or had you become a thespian and it was the director?
No, I was. It was Taming of the Shrew, and I always had small parts in each of the productions. There was, I think junior year was Telltale Heart, and I can't remember sophomore.
We did my junior year, which would have been your senior year. We did a play called Dope, and we had a dream, a freak out scene where we played Inagata DeVito with a strobe light and everything. It was, and Tony Westfield was the head, and his teeth fell out in the middle of the play. And, they had a little scuffle,
partial,
and it fell out, and he just walked over there and picked it up, rubbed it on his things, and blew on it, put it back in his mouth, and went right back into the scene perfectly. Of course, just people cracked up over that, but we were us old actors. And
I remember I was in Key Club with Tony. I remember him well. Good guy.
He's in Nebraska.
Warnie Fennell.
Yeah, Warnie was great.
Ron had to say get a broom, and she could not get him to say that the way that she wanted it said, and it was a joke for a long time.
Well, I got to star in a film with Warnie later on. It was they were doing a film about the ambulance service, about the proper way to call things and stuff. So I went to her house, and we were filming the scene. I was up on a ladder changing the bulb, and I'm supposed to have a heart attack. I grab my left arm, and I fall down into her kitchen floor, slide down her cabinets. Oh, I did that over and over. And I couldn't get up now if I fell down.
But the sad thing was, our daughter was in first grade, and they showed that video. Absolutely freaked the child out because she thought her daddy was sick. It was not a good moment. It was not a good moment.
Scary,
yeah, it really did. It truly scared her.
So I haven't seen that film in a while. That's my big acting career, other movies you're in. If you can call us here at 614-5553 if you have any questions for Gary Miller, or if you want some windows from Billy Berger, or if you want to know where Miss Ella's underwear is, or you know where it is, give us a call. You were also in Anchorman 2. Now, where did you film that at?
In Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Now, how did that come to be?
That was one of those. There's a lot of truth in once you get to know people in the industry, and that
and they discover you're not that guy.
Well, yeah, if they realize that you show up on time and you do what you're told, you're low maintenance, and that you can do the work. Well, then they remember you. So I got a call from Rose, Rose Catlett, it's Catlett Locke, and Rose Locke said, I've got a featured extra role that I think that you'd do well in. And all that means is there's no lines with a featured extra role, but you're on camera, clearly visible. Mm-hmm. So when you see And I look at TV and movies completely different now. When I see an elevator scene where the main character gets on the elevator, but there's other people there, I realize, okay, they're featured extras. They've been selected for just because they have the look that they're looking for that scene. But she said, I've got a featured extra role that I think you would be good for if you'd be available to come down and work a couple of days in Atlanta.
We just put up on the screen of you standing right behind the main characters in the anchor.
Oh.
Looks like they teased your hair. They poofed your hair up.
They poofed it up a little bit. Actually, they put the sideburns on me. I spent an hour and 15 minutes each of the 2 days in makeup, sitting there while they did the hair and put real hair on the sideburns and all the other stuff. I mean, this I hear this coming out of my mouth, saying stuff like this, and it still is surreal to me to have gone through the experience. So please understand that, I'm just a, ordinary Joe that had an extraordinary opportunity to,
well, and you
have
were
some
in a
really
position
interesting life experiences.
Take advantage of it too. That you could take a few days and do this,
Yes.
and how wonderfully exciting.
Right.
And I think maybe some of it is that you look like an average person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're looking for.
Well,
It's just
Jerry
the
said,
average.
gee, thanks.
Well, no, he understands that comment.
Rose says, I need somebody who's tall and thin, and has a certain look.
Yeah.
And so with
And has a
Anchorman
really
2,
bright yellow blazer.
yeah. And so they were looking for a GNN newsroom reporter, and so that was actually filmed. The 2 days was at the old Georgia Archives building in downtown Atlanta. It's closed now because it's made almost entirely of marble. It has a real 60s look to it with all the wood paneling on the inside, but the reason it's closed is because it's so heavy it's beginning to sink. So
I didn't know
now
that.
they use it a lot. A lot of different movie productions are using it for sets because they can rent it and
Well,
use
and
it.
again, there you go. Georgia offers tax incentives and different incentives for the movie people to come there and make movies, and they're really busy in Atlanta.
Well, other than 42, everything that I've done has been in the Atlanta area, all the sets there, because now it's called the Second Hollywood, just because of that.
Well, there's good possibilities in Tennessee if we would court the industry here, but unfortunately we're not doing a good job.
You'd be amazed how many times the Tennessee Railroad Museum has been used.
Oh yes,
the trains and the station.
I know. We will. There was a movie, and we never did find out what the movie was. They were looking for a roadway with a bluff on it, and we looked at up on Upper River Road here in Bradley County. Said there's some great places right along the river, and they were supposed to have some kind of wild chase car thing, but we didn't get picked for up here. We were helping on that. Now let me ask you about you worked on 42, a very serious, hard-working movie. Then you went to work with Will Ferrell on a movie that, I just see that set had to be a lot more crazy,
or was it?
Or were they serious, or was it a different attitude there and a little bit more laid back?
No, actually, the 42 set was more laid back.
Oh, really?
As a matter of fact,
Seriously?
of the 4 sets, the 4 different projects that I've worked on, it was the easiest going, most relaxed set of any of them, as far as the least amount of rules, and but with the others, it's kind of stepped up. But on the Anchorman 2 set, there was a light atmosphere, but when the cameras rolled, it was hilarious. I mean, you would. These guys are, you see their talent, but when the cameras were stopped, when they said cut, well then everybody was focused on getting ready to either reshoot it or the next scene, because it's a business. But it was.
Was that a hard thing to not laugh?
Well, in the scene that I had been chosen for, it didn't make the cut, which you never know if anything's going to make the cut. I actually had a scene with just me and Will Ferrell. And all I had to do, no lines, but all I had to do was, I was standing at the end of a desk there in the office. They put the camera low and to my left and really close up. And when I say close up, I literally could reach my left elbow out and touch the camera, and it was shooting, up towards me. And my job was to look straight ahead and look stern, and Will Ferrell would stick his head right in next to mine and just say something totally off the wall. I mean, just crazy. And my job was not to laugh and just as soon as after he delivered his line, just look straight down into the camera lens, because they were going to use this almost like the old laugh-in type of clips where, they would have the funny type of things. And, he said some of the funniest things, and it was tough several times, not to laugh and everything, but it was he was such a nice guy. When they were doing the setup, getting everything ready, he came walking up, and I'm already standing there in position. He comes up and introduces himself, like, I didn't know who he was. Hi, I'm Will Ferrell, and I know I'm Gary Miller. and he laughs at, we laugh at each other's outfit. We were laughing. He said, "Can you believe these outfits?" He said, "You look like a professional golfer." And I laughed and I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "This jacket is from '73." I said,
"And it's mine."
Yeah, and I said, "It's like the old ABC Wide World of Sports guys." Yeah. And he said, "No." He said, "You really look like a professional golfer." And we were both laughing. And then we shot the scene and everything. And when it's over, he took the time. He stopped and shook my hand and said, "I appreciate the work that you did with me today." Now, he didn't have to do that. So, that told me a lot about his character and just the type of person that he was by doing that.
Well, do you think a few times he was just seeing if he could make you laugh?
There were a couple of things that he said on two different occasions. I know specifically one time that what he said that he was trying to, because there's no way they even in that movie they could have used it. And at the end of that one, I did break up. So, but it was. I
see food coming in the door. This is where you'll see Ron get distracted.
Yes, I'm distracted now.
Well, let me ask you this: there was a big deal, with Will, because he was just killing him being a photographer, that he couldn't take pictures, not even with his cell phone, when he was on the set of 42. They really restricted that. How did you get pictures?
Well, that was one of the benefits of getting to know the directors and getting some credibility with them and knowing that we weren't those guys. One of the other umpires, Andy Mullins, and I both were allowed to, we had we could have our cell phones with us, but we were, the umpires were allowed to take pictures as long as there weren't a lot of other extras around, the crowds, and just, keep it kind of on the down low, but, feel free to do that. So we were able to have our pictures taken with the actors, and, a lot of, like Andy would take shots of me, whenever I was doing a scene, or if he was doing a scene, I would take shots of him that we would email
I'm giggling
each other.
Because as Gary and I are carrying on this conversation, Ron's holding up a fried pickle to the camera.
And I realized as I held it up,
it's hot.
They're hot. I had to try one here. Jeff from over at the Old Cafe at the Oasis gas station over here, give me a fried pickle. I want to try one right now. You hear that? Go ahead, Gary. I'm busy.
I'll be joining you later. But but on the other sets, big time no to have your cell phone or taking any kind of pictures. As a matter of fact, on the last project that I worked on in June in Atlanta, there was a young man who brought his cell phone on set, took some shots that he didn't think anybody could see because he was wanting to tweet them out, and they saw him. The police came in on set, handcuffed him, and escorted him, hauled him away in the police car. When you sign papers. When you
see, that was the level of seriousness
yes.
that Will was saying. He's saying, "No, Mom, I can't even take a picture with mine. So I can't take a picture of me standing in the stadium with nobody else in the picture." He just was not allowed to take pictures at all. Yeah. And that was, I think, part of his job is to tell the other people they couldn't do that also. And it you just didn't have your cell phone. He locked his phone up in the car every day.
Yeah, there were a couple of people who, like even on the 42 set, they saw them, and all they did there was come up and made them in front of them delete the pictures from the phone, and then took them off set to either put their phone up or I think there was one person they sent home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
I think what some people don't realize, I'm sorry, Ron, is that too. I wasn't thinking about it beforehand, but Will said the people that sat in the stadium had to show up dressed identical every day.
Yeah,
and part of his job was to make sure that the pen was still where it was the day before, or that everything was just the same.
Continuity was, and you'll notice it in some movies. You may see a scene where there a coffee cup might be in a same scene. It moves, or the amount of liquid in it.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that very early on in 42 that I wasn't aware of. But once they may shoot a scene a dozen different times, so you have to remember and go through the same movements each time, because you don't know
how they piece it together
and how they're going to piece it together with the direction and everything. I know that there was one scene with Lucas Black, who played Pee Wee Reese. I was a second base umpire in that scene, and it was choreographed where there was a line drive hit. He was the shortstop. He had to dive towards second base, fully extended, catch the ball, flip it to the second baseman, who would tag the runner coming back to second base out for a double play, which I would call it out. And we did that scene 23 times.
Oh, my.
And talk about a guy earning his money that day. I mean, Lucas was absolutely dead, because on every shot, he had to fully extend and wham, hit the ground, and if he missed the ball, well then, or if the flip wasn't right, or if the tag was late, if it didn't look exactly right, okay, we're going to do it again.
Yeah,
Gary, you'll appreciate this little story. We're making a little documentary now about the Ducktown Basin. Not necessarily the mining, but the community and the people and the unique life they live there among the barren hills. But the story that one guy tells us on film is that his uncle was the umpire at the local baseball field, and things got a little rough between those leagues, between the miners, and he always had him a 38 stuck in his belt.
Rough times.
Rough ball. That's a rough ball game there.
Rough crowd.
And the home plate was steel.
Yeah, it was a big metal plate that they had made in the metal shop. And in recent months, they have cleared off the old ball field so that you can see downtown from the Burr Burr mine and, vice versa. And the guys running the bulldozer clinked it and knew what it was and stopped. And they have dug it up, and it's up in the museum now.
That's
so
great.
that big piece of history was saved. Jeff, come over here and get on the microphone for just a moment. I want you to tell me what you're serving at the O Cafe this week. Did you have frog legs last week? Come talk.
We had frog legs yesterday.
And so how'd that go? It was hopping good?
Yeah. Matter of fact, we was in your backyard getting the frogs for Thursday night.
That's where my frog went.
Well, you probably could find a few frogs in my green pool at this moment. Our pool has gone crazy, and it's a beautiful shade of green, but I need it for it to be a beautiful shade of blue.
You got bullfrogs, right?
I don't have bullfrogs. So, frog legs on Thursday?
No, just on Friday.
Oh, on Fridays, okay. And what's going on Thursdays?
Right now, we're doing chicken livers and chicken gizzards.
Yuck.
Hey, they said that was one of your favorites, Ron.
No chicken livers or gizzards. No.
So so you're just doing the plate lunches on Thursday and frog legs on Fridays and breakfast every day.
We're looking at doing maybe some grilled salmon.
Grilled salmon at the. Okay, that sounds good. That's my favorite. Now that's my favorite. So we'll have to remember that. And do you have fried pickles every day? They smell yummy. Yeah. I hadn't got to eat one yet.
You better get one before Ron dives in.
What's those hash brown things you called? What were
the hash brown rolls?
Hash brown rolls. Oh, my gosh, those were good.
So the Oasis is located at the 3rd and Inman Street.
No, First and Inman.
First and Inman. Right there.
Third's over there. Okay.
It says going into historical downtown Cleveland. The Oasis is the gas station. Inside there, they have the old cafe, and I get my biscuit there every morning.
I was just going to say, we can set our watch and clocks by you.
That's right. That's good. So, hey, folks, it's time for us to take a break. We'll be back here in a few minutes.
We want to remember this morning especially, Ron, Mrs. Ray Jackson that passed this week. She was 105 years old. What a wonderful life she had, and we want to remember her today and everyone else that passed this week.
We play a song called Gone Home before we come back on. So we'll be back in just a few minutes here on Old Town Cleveland with Gary Miller, the actor.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash. The cash you need is closer than you think.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500 at Check Into Cash.
You drive home with the cash in your pocket.
Visit Check Into Cash for an auto title loan today, or get a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH. Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
Did you know that U.S. Money Shops cashes all checks, even the ones most check cashers reject? Tax refund checks, government checks, payroll checks, and many more. And when you cash a check with U.S. Money Shops, we'll give you 10% off your next purchase. At U.S. Money Shops, we have everything you need at a fraction of regular retail. So stop by one of our 11 locations or visit us online at usmoneyshops.com.
Buy or sell or coin today, the better way at U.S. Money Shops.
Some restrictions may apply. See store for details.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, dig it. Dig it, dig it.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750.
Friday. Come one, come all to the Cleveland Speedway. That's right, race fans, are you ready for the thrill of down-home, high-speed, no-hold-back racing? Get ready for the all-new Cleveland Speedway this Friday, September the 19th. Racing comes back to Cleveland. It's time to get your dirt on. An all-new track, an all-new grandstand, and an all-new racing experience. The Cleveland Speedway opens this Friday. Bring the entire family. Gates open at 6:30. Racing starts at 7:30. If you love dirt track racing, get ready for the all-new Cleveland Speedway. This Friday, racing returns to Cleveland Speedway. Don't miss it. Tune in daily to the Fro Daddy Show at 4 o'clock for your chance to win a pair of free tickets. See you this Friday at the Cleveland Speedway. Friday.
All of my friends that I loved yesterday have gone. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. The songbirds are singing, the dells seem to say have gone. They have gone home. Gone. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets up here gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. 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 They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home.
That's dedicated to all those people who's passed this week. They have gone home, and
Coach to Coach is sponsored
Wait a
by
minute.
two great
There's somebody talking.
university institutions.
this morning I couldn't get it to play at all. Now I can't get it to
Push
stop.
all the
Oh,
buttons,
yeah.
Ron. Push all the buttons.
Yeah, the when you come in the morning, the computer is completely off, and you have to reboot
They have
everything.
got the flooding stopped in the mall now.
Yeah, we did have flooding at the bistro, outside the bistro, not inside the bistro, but outside the bistro. The flower bed had flooded.
It was a water garden.
So we've had all kind of interesting things.
Thanks, Jeff. See you later.
He
Bye-bye.
said salmon is this Thursday.
Yeah, and it's $5.99 for
With
salmon and baked
baked
potato.
potato.
I'm going to have to remember that.
That sounds.
Ron's got a special coming next Saturday.
Our next special next Saturday. We got frog legs coming in for us next Saturday. Ribbit.
Ribbit.
Yeah,
You know, I'm a seafood person, but
you got them down here to Linden Frog.
I got them at the Linden Frog.
Linden Frog right there.
Come into your pool and get
I'll get them in my pool. That's about right. Yeah.
I'll clean the green out
Hey,
while you're there.
We got somebody calling here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good morning. You live on Old Town Cleveland. Good morning, Bullet. You're breaking
Hey,
up.
Bullet, what's going on, buddy?
Bullet, you're breaking up. You may have to call me back there. Call us back, Bullet. You're breaking up. Bullet's done having a hard day, too. Don't forget, tomorrow is the polo matches down at Benabout Farms. You go down South Lee Highway, and you'll come to the entrance.
Gary, have you ever gone to the polo matches?
As a matter of fact, last Saturday morning, I picked up my mom and my youngest daughter, and I took her to the polo matches, and I actually got to hear the last part of your show when it was over, and I'm actually taking Sherry tomorrow. So, yeah, it's what a great opportunity to see have a really fun
Isn't it
time.
an amazing sport?
It is.
Like I said,
I
but
love
it's
to
at,
watch those horses.
Tomorrow, the gates open at 12, polo matches at 2, absolutely free. Bring the whole family, dress any way you want to, decently. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning.
Hey, Marilyn, what's up?
Well, to begin with, on the gone home, Mrs. Jackson.
Yes, 105 years old. I was doing a Civil War presentation yesterday. I taught Civil War for 4 different 5th grade classes yesterday, and I'd show them a picture of Mrs. Jackson's house because it had a Civil War story. And I said to one class, and she recently passed away, and one child raised his hand and said, "What did she die of?" I said she was 105.
She's 105. Yeah, well, she was one of T's big friends. He'd always call her about fish, and she'd say, "I don't need any, thank you, but please call me again." And he'd call her every time, and they would just talk, because he worked for her briefly years ago. He wanted me to remind you that the fish truck will be here next Saturday morning at 11 o'clock at the Southeastern Farmers Co-op.
And if they want to order fish, tell them what number to call.
478-2405.
But it's not necessary to order usually.
No, we do walk-ups, and you take a chance on not getting your order, but sometimes you get a better deal that way.
Yeah, they got grass carp and bluegill and catfish, all those things you need for your ponds or your lakes.
Everything but that salmon that man
who's going to cook.
Yeah.
The frogs or the salmon.
Frog leg. You get your frogs down at the Linden Frog here. They lend you a frog, and you go over and make frog legs, right?
You take it over and he cooks it for you.
Yeah, that's right.
He sure
That sounds
does.
good.
Thanks, Marilyn.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye. And the Antique Car Show for the Cherokee Valley Region Auto Club is going on today up at the Bradley Square Mall. If you like detail, that's where you like to go, because they restore those cars back to their original back to the original.
Hey, Gary, you've got the phones ringing now. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron. How you doing, bud?
Hey, there's Bullet.
The person has to keep their phone charged.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
I think mine died a few minutes ago, too.
I heard you've been having trouble there this morning also.
Oh, my
We've
gosh.
had a lot of problems this morning. Luckily, we got on the air. There are a few things missing that we had to engineer some way to get it to work, but it's working.
And we never know what happens, but we appreciate you calling us this morning, so we got down here earlier than usual to work on it.
That's all right. I know you just like to come in with it working. But anyway, Ron, did you go to the game last night?
Yes, I went to the Bradley Walker Valley game, and congratulations to Walker Valley. First time they ever beat the Bears in the history of the school.
I don't get mad at it, but I actually picked Walker Valley.
Well, I'll tell everybody who's listening is that most likely in this district, everybody can beat everybody else. So Ooltewah's ahead of everybody else. So you may see Cleveland beat Walker Valley, then Bradley beat Cleveland, or Cleveland beat Bradley, and then Walker Valley beat Cleveland. You don't know. Then you add McMahon and Soddy Daisy come along and beat Cleveland last night, which Soddy Daisy was picked to be last in the district. So I think what we find out in this district this year, that all the teams can beat each other. Just according to what happens that night, Bradley got it handed to them, basically what it was, and then they made some mistakes, or they could have came back and won the game. But Walker Valley come out and played and scored 14 points in the first quarter, and the Bears never recovered.
Well, after a Cleveland game, they just made too many mistakes, and they had both their running backs back, and they just couldn't do nothing. But it's like I say, I actually picked Cleveland this year 5-5, but I don't know what's going to end up.
Well, I think you may see that Walker Valley may be 5-5, McMinn 5-5, Soddy 5-5, Bradley 5. I mean, they all can do that because it's. I couldn't tell you now if McMinn's going to beat Bradley
game,
or if Bradley's going to beat Cleveland, or either way. I think it's just whoever fumbles the ball the most that night loses.
Deb's going to say this is not a football show this morning, but
that's okay.
But with me and Ron just talking about football, we can talk for 3 hours.
That's okay. Right. Gary's over here shaking his head yes to everything y'all are saying, so he's enjoying the conversation.
He's an old Bear fan, though.
That's right. Who's your guest this morning?
Gary Miller. He's he grew up here in Bradley County, and he's been involved in 4 movies now, and so he was on in the movie 42. He played one of the umpires. He was an anchor man. He was a what did you call yourself? An anchor man?
GNN newsroom reporter.
He was a reporter, and then in the Hunger Games, you were I was a hob vendor in District 12. It's a black market vendor. A hob vendor. Okay. Right.
Well, I just want to say hi to Gary, and I'm going to listen to the rest of your show. It's good talking to you this morning.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Let me ask you about, you said that you were actually an umpire. Where did you umpire?
That was
for real life.
That was here in Bradley County after when I was going to Cleveland State after high school. I umpired a couple of years in the Babe Ruth League, and
Now the Babe Ruth League.
That's the older boys.
Boys.
Yeah, that's your teenagers and
13, 14.
So did you get to see players go on and play ball from there much, or did you?
A few. There was, I think, like your Johnny Bakers who were down in the smaller leagues and like that went on. There was a Ted. I can't remember his last name.
Oh, he was Ted May.
Ted May. Yeah. But what was surprising was after all of those years that it only took a few hours of being out on the field on 42 for it to come back. I was amazed. I was talking to the other guys who were all current TSSAA umpires, and I was saying, guys, you might have to help me out here a little bit, refresh me as far as if I'm out of position or anything like that. And after about the first 3 or 4 hours,
like riding a bicycle,
it really was. I was really surprised of how it came back so quickly, and it felt so natural. That was.
But you never wore wool suits when you did that.
Never wore wool suits, and hope to never do that again.
There was. And what was the gentleman? We talked about him that I met him. He was also one of the umpires.
Wayne Hickey.
And if you look at one of the 42 posters, he's actually right in the background there. Yeah,
Wayne's dad. It's Wayne Hickey the second. his dad was in Chattanooga circles in the softball area was a legend. I mean, he umpired for so many years, and in the Pete Gray story that was filmed at Ingle Stadium back in the 70s, he had an umpire role in that movie. So it had a lot of special meaning for for Wayne to be able to also be in a movie with as an umpire, following his dad back 30 years before that.
I know that his son's real active in the Chattanooga Film Society, and he came in, and we went to a meeting of the Film Society, and we talked about the financial impact of 42 brought to Chattanooga and how it saved Ingle Stadium. And we did have some state representatives invited that day and talked to them, and they talked favorable. I don't know if they went back and voted for us, but
let me ask you about the Hunger Games picture that's up on the screen now. So where did that facial hair come from? Is that yours, or was that some that they glued on?
That's 2 weeks of growth is all. My beard grows
pretty
fast.
They told you to
stop shaving.
That's wild.
Stop shaving and show up, and then when you go to hair and makeup, well, in the back of my hair, they chopped it all up, looked like, I guess, someone would be cutting the hair at home and that sort of thing, and they would dirty your face up. They had the special makeup that looked like coal dust and dirt that they would put on her and her hands and fingernails. It was amazing the detail that they paid attention to, so that it looked like you'd been working and grubbing around all day long.
I can honestly say I have not seen the Hunger Games. Tell me what the whole movie is about.
Well, the world now is made up of different districts, 1 through X number, 13 or 14, but District 12 is the district of the main characters, with Katniss Everdeen, who is played by Jennifer Lawrence, and it's more of the poor people, the miners, the people just scratching out a living. You have some of the districts are where the elite live, some are where the glamorous people, some are where the business people, all the different districts.
The other side of the tracks, but in a bigger scale.
So District 12 is really where people are just trying to scratch out a living day-to-day existence. So the Hob is where that district is set around, is where the black market is, where people are trying to sell their goods or any little thing they can to make a living. But the idea is that each year there are the games where each district sends, by a lottery, they send their two representatives to the games, and it's a fight to the death event. It's televised worldwide. Of course, the ratings, everybody worldwide watches it. But when you go there, the two people from each district, only one walks away. Now, when you win, well, then your district kind of reaps the rewards. They get extra benefits from that, and then if you survive, well, then you live like in the lap of luxury from that point on. So with the Catching Fire, well, of course, Katniss is it's the second one, and what they've done at that time is they've decided that they're bringing back people who have won from the districts before for the lottery, and since she knows she's the only one that's going to be going back to represent. So it was an interesting premise, a lot of good action. I thought the second one actually was better than the first.
I need to see it, but I just had never watched it. Now, what did you sell as a Hob?
In my little area, I had some wire. One of my prized possessions I was trying to sell was an old coal oil lamp. I had some dried fruit, nuts and bolts, just really the terrible things.
So you actually had speaking parts.
No? And I didn't in this, but I was a featured extra. And another story of how the connection you make on one film can open a door for you on another. there were two different sets in Atlanta on Hunger Games. One was called The Farm, which is like in downtown Atlanta, but it's literally kind of like a farm where they bring inner city kids there to show them what a farm would be like. The other was out at the old Pullman plant that is closed. And at the first 2 days of shooting was there at the farm. I'm there. I came up with the eye patch on my own. That was something that I thought might set me apart from the others. And so, I wore the eye patch.
Now, how did that happen? I mean, did you suggest it, or did you have it with you, or
I brought it with me, and I bought it. It was in September when they were doing this. So there was the Halloween store that was open. I went in, and they had a bunch of different eye patches.
It went with your Yellow Jacket collection.
I picked out the one with the steel studs on it.
I mean, because it looks like it's made. Yeah. I mean, that you'd made it for yourself or something. And so, what did they say when you?
Well, they liked it. As a matter of fact, there were like, for the first 2 days of shooting, there were over 300 extras because it was a big scene, the reaping scene, which is where they have the lottery where they're going to draw. And so we're all out there, and they're getting ready to do the shoot, and I'm just standing right out in the middle with 300 other extras. And all of a sudden I hear, "Gary," and I look over, and it was Ben White, who on 42 was one of the assistant directors, and he was the guy who, he was responsible for a lot of things, but he was responsible for us umpires. So he would tell us, "Okay, we need you now on the set, or go relax for a while. If you're going to go to the table or going to do anything, let me know where you are." So I'd gotten to know him well. He sees me, and I make my way over to him, and we stand there and talk for a few minutes, and he says, "Hey, come with me." He says, "Love the eye patch." He said, "You look great. Love the beard, love the eye patch."
I'm surprised he recognized you.
And that's what he said. He said, "I can't believe that I recognized you, but I'm taller than a lot of the people and kind of stuck up a little bit." And he said, "Come with me." And he takes me up to the front of all the extras, and he positions me with Katniss's family. So I'm standing with Gail, who her boyfriend, and her mother and her sister. So he puts me where I will be in a camera shot, which it's brief, but in the movie you see me standing, with the family there with my eye patch on and everything. So it's just right place, right time, and in that situation, someone who knew me took care of me. Just came and plucked me out of the crowd.
Otherwise, you would have been
Is this
way
the
back.
scene you're talking about here?
Yes.
Yes. So otherwise, you might have been off camera then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're right behind them. Yeah. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
So again, so much of it is just luck. Sometimes the good Lord looks down on you and for no reason decides He's going to give you a blessing.
Is she the actress that's in Ray Donovan now on the Showtime?
I believe she is.
She's Ray Donovan's wife.
So have they called and offered you things or suggested things, and you weren't able to go?
There was one opportunity that I didn't take advantage of, and it was there was a scene, we need to wear a tux, and there was going to be a party scene, and work prevented me from, I already had commitments, and it turned out to be Las Vegas. And that killed me not to be able to participate in that, because that was a scene that would have been with Morgan Freeman, Michael Douglas. I mean, that whole crew on that movie. I mean, the ones that, legends in Hollywood. But, I've just been very fortunate so far. The Hunger Games situation just came from a chance encounter with the assistant director in Atlanta. Not the assistant director, the casting director. Saw her at the Atlanta premiere of 42 right before the movie started down there. And we probably had 30 seconds. She saw me, "Hey, Gary," ran up, hug, how you doing? Good to see you, blah, blah, everything. The movie starts, we run back to our seats. 4 o'clock the next morning, I get a text message saying, I think I've got a extra role that I'd like you to be in, and that's how Hunger Games came about, just because she saw me and thought, okay, the Hob Vendor role, he fits the look, with a beard that we would be looking for.
That's great. That's the same with Will. Will worked on 42, and that's how he got the Nashville role. Somebody, remember, we come back on the crutches, saying is that he came back and worked and all the way through on the crutches, and so they gave him the role in Nashville. And I said, he didn't make a good living now for doing that up there. I have to admit, he was.
He said you spend 12 hours, and it sounds like a good little chunk of money, but by the time you pay your travel expenses, but it's a good experience.
It's a great experience, and it's that was one of the things on 42 was or on any of them, especially 42. It's just the experience that a great life experience. One of the things that I value the most from that was a couple of weeks into the shoot on a Friday afternoon. My wife teaches, and it was like her last day of school was on that Friday, and I saw Rose, the casting director, and I said, Rose, would it be all right if, Sherry came and, at lunch one day, see the stadium, see me in costume, that sort of thing, and she said, well, I said, she's out of school starting next week. I was wondering maybe Monday if she could do that. And I said, my daughter Rachel, my oldest daughter Sarah, she's taking care of my granddaughter Daisy, but my youngest daughter Rachel would like to come with her. And she said, have them show up with you Monday morning and report to wardrobe. And she said, I'll work them for 3 days. And so they went through the whole process of all of that. But the thing that meant the most to me was it happened to be on I guess it was the second day, that Tuesday, was when I was upgraded from extra to actor status, which is just, it's one of those where it's like lightning strikes. You're just, there's no way of you ever thinking that you would be so fortunate. But I'm sitting up in the stands, and Ben, the assistant director, comes up and said, I need you to fill out this paperwork in quadruplicate. And at that point, I knew what was going on, and I did. And he said, we're about to film a scene with Harrison Ford that you're going to participate in. So at that point, I went down, and it was where Jackie is going to be obviously safe and called out, and they have to film, Harrison Ford's reaction. So I'm there 8 feet in front of Harrison Ford, and, I have to give the out call. And they're filming his reaction and everything, and so Sherry and Rachel are sitting up in the stands and got to see all of that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's that's the kind of thing that you just can't ever dream of to be able to have as a life experience. So that was one of my best memories.
That's wonderful. And where you think that your hopes were that you'd just be able to sit up in the stadium?
Well, that's just it. Is you think of, okay, what if I that's silly, I'm just going to go back to work and carry on from there. But it even took on a life of its own after the movie was out and everything. You get your credit. So at the end of the film, I'm umpire 5, Gary Miller at the end of that. But Sherry and I got to go out to Hollywood for the world premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater. And
that was great.
Got to walk the red carpet, which actually for 42, it was a black carpet with big, huge, in Dodger blue 42s on the carpet. But my daughter Rachel at that time was living in Newport Beach, so we hadn't seen her in a while, so we got to go out there and stay with her. And then we all went there, and Sherry and I, we didn't realize this, or I didn't realize this, but you have to have an escort to walk when you walk the red carpet. So our escort turned out to be one of the industry guys. He was the president of one of the entertainment companies out there. Super nice guy, and he had heard our story, or my story, and everything, and so he went out of his way to introduce us to different people. I got to meet Dave Winfield, Hall of Famer from the New York Yankees, and Dave Cower, who's Super Bowl Steelers coach, and now he's an analyst on CBS. Barry Bonds was there, Hank Aaron was there. It was just wow. just amazing time. And it's just exactly the way you see it on TV. It's the way it is. It is completely surreal. They're like different stations with the backgrounds that when they take you down the carpet, and at each station you have these mass of photographers there. Your escort will announce your name and your role in the movie. And then they're yelling your name, look this way, look that way, and they're taking the shots. And then after we walked the carpet, our escort, the gentleman said, follow me. And he brought us back down to the front of the carpet where the limousines would pull up, and positioned us there so that we were like 8 feet away from all of the major stars and celebrities who were coming to walk the carpet or to attend the movie. We got to go in and see the movie, and then before we went in, he introduced me to two ladies who were two of the main Warner Brothers executives, and they gave us passes to the after party, which was just again, more than a dream that you could ever.
I'm going to let him pick my lottery tickets.
So I imagine the after party with just some couple little hors d'oeuvres and things.
Yeah, it was so low key. No, it was right across the street. There was, and I can't remember the name of the restaurant that they had taken a parking lot. They had completely enclosed it and recreated Ebbets Field inside, from the turf to, in the center of it, they had a giant bar, circular bar, but in the centerpiece for that was glass with all the lights, and they had brought in from Cooperstown, New York, they brought in the Jackie Robinson exhibit.
Oh,
wow.
So Gary, what does your mama say about all this?
She just shakes her head like I do. It's just, you pinch yourself, and, you just can't imagine being so blessed and so fortunate, because it's not anything that you've done that you deserve it, but you just have to accept it and thank the good Lord that, for giving you such a blessing. And I've had such a good time. My friends and relatives have had such a good time teasing me, making fun of me, and they laugh and say, we're enjoying living vicariously through your stories that you're telling, that you're sharing with us, and that really brings me a lot of joy.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you want to move to the next level and get a speaking part? Or do you have that ambition, or just what you're doing now is satisfying, or would you like to say, I'd like to say one thing on camera one time?
Well, I had that opportunity in 42, which, again, that was $1 million to 1 hour. I experienced the whole start to finish, the dream where you're just a regular extra, get upgraded to actor, and then got to attend everything, the world premiere, through the whole 10 yards. The odds of that happening again are like being struck.
Now, you had not seen the movie at all until you seen the premiere, right? You didn't see the finished product. So what did you think with the first? You walked in there and says, well, that turned out to be a pretty darn good movie.
It's an excellent movie.
But I was very proud of the job that Brian Heglin did with it, the director. I thought he did a very good job.
So while it was going on, you couldn't... He was seeing something you weren't seeing. I mean, like with your hand over your heart, holding your hat. I mean, did you have any idea that you were going to be in that scene? Sort of, kind of, maybe.
Where the camera was, I was watching for that, because that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. From just it was big. They had Ingalls Stadium decked out. The crowd was there. We were lined up down, both foul lines with the teams and the umpires, and they had the band, and the gentleman sang the national anthem. And as a matter of fact, the gentleman in the movie who sings the national anthem is Brian's father, who is a retired opera singer. Who does? Old gentleman. Had to be helped out with the cane and did a terrific job with the national anthem. But just little things like that, the little touches like that, makes it extraordinary.
Do you want to go into that next level?
Not really. I realized, these people out there, they have a lot of talent. If I get called to be an extra or a featured extra, or if I were to be Lightning were to strike again and have a speaking part, would I do it? Oh, absolutely. It's some guys will take some time off and they'll go on a hunting trip, or go out to Colorado and go fishing or whatever. Well, that's would be my thing as far as a hobby, and the opportunity may never present itself again. And if it doesn't, well, then I've already had
you're
my
about
luck.
You're about 4 films ahead of me. How's that?
Well,
Gary, were you able to watch the movie with your 9-year-old granddaughter Daisy? Have you has Daisy got to see you on film yet?
She has parts, but there's just
it's kind of rough. The language and stuff's rough.
Yeah, she's not really ready for the full thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but she had to think that was pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, his daughter Sarah does our art lessons down at Black Fox and does an excellent job.
Well, thank you. She does
an excellent job.
Black Fox is a super school. They've got a fantastic principal and staff there. Sarah teaches art, but Daisy.
I think it's kind of
likes
encouraged her to go back and finish her degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. Folks, you're listening to Whoop FM, Old Town Cleveland, here on 99.9, and you can go to the internet at www.whoop.fm. You not only can see us, you can hear us, and we also have a chat room. You can send us a message that way. Call us here at 614-5553 if you have a question for Gary here. You can ask him about going to Hopewell, and apparently he remembers every teacher out there. Who was the principal? You didn't mention the principal.
Well, when I first started, it was Charles Marks, George Marks, and then it was Charles Flowers.
Charlie Flowers, I remember him being out there.
Wow, that's a good memory. Good. I'll have to go back and remember. I'm losing my 3rd grade. I can't remember who that is now. Melvin Lacey.
Miss Lacey is
Lee
in her 90s now.
York.
Still very, very sharp. I understand her vision is failing her, but I'd love to have her on this show.
Yes.
I may have to call and see if I can arrange that.
Miss Lacey, she might tell stories on me. Last time I ran Miss Lacey, she told people, I said she was my 2nd grade teacher, and she said, I prefer you say we went to school together. So, okay. So you can call us here. Also, I want to remind you, if you're looking for some wooden windows, some old antique looking windows. Antique. I learned that word from an English teacher from up in Copper Hill. That Billy Berger has 10 that he's just taken out of a house, and you can have them absolutely free. All you got to do is come pick them up. So somebody might do some kind of art project with them, and I've seen people take those old windows and put a painting behind them, and they make a great looking thing. So
be ashamed to throw them away.
Yeah, sure would. So if anybody wants those, give us a call here, and we'll give your number to Mr. Berger.
I don't think our phone's acting correctly, Ron. Push the button again.
You're
sometimes
right. You never know when it does and doesn't work. Now try to call us. Maybe it'll work. Yeah, you don't know if it's on or not. See, it don't take long. Hey, good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron. I've been trying to call for 30 minutes.
Well, I'm sorry that you never know when this.
You're sitting down there giving a number out, and you can't get in.
Well, I just tried to drive you crazy, Red.
I know you done drove me crazy this morning.
I've done
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Where is Troy from?
Troy?
Yeah, the team that Georgie's playing this week.
Oh,
I have no idea. It's some high school.
Do you know, Gary?
Yeah, it's Southern Alabama.
Southern Alabama. It's L.A. Lower Alabama.
Oh, okay. I couldn't place it.
Well, I think Georgia ought to be able to beat that high school team out of Alabama today.
Now, Ron, they can't be high school.
Well, they're a big school.
You're trying to mess with me here.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit. Georgia lost last week now.
Just wait till next week.
No.
It's Tennessee and Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Somebody's going to win next week, isn't it?
Hopefully, I won't be at that game.
Well, you know what? I'm not betting with you.
Well, I know that.
Last time it cost me, I had to go buy a Georgia T-shirt. I've never been so embarrassed in my life going buying a Georgia T-shirt.
I still laugh when I wear that old shirt.
I had to go out in public and buy a Georgia T-shirt.
He said, where in the world am I going to find a Georgia T-shirt? I think we'd gone out of town and we found one somewhere.
You have to go to Georgia to find the
It was in a junk store somewhere, I think where it was.
I know. No, I've got some nice stuff from out Georgia.
But do you have any of your corn liquor left?
No, don't got no liquor.
I mean, you didn't save some for prosperity, you know, or colds or something like that?
Ron, I never drank.
She just sold it.
I
Yeah.
just made it and sold it. I never did drink it.
Yeah.
And to smell it.
Oh, yeah. You just wanted the money, hey?
I just wanted the money.
If you had some, Bob Cash would call you.
Bob Cash won't call me. I heard he was down there at the village trying to flirt with some other woman the other day.
Uh-oh.
A redhead, too.
Yeah, that's the key word. He was trying.
Well, this is what the Matador said. He had to go out there and help him hunt his truck.
Have you ever seen Bob Cash?
No, I've not.
Well, it just, you know, in the South we'd say, bless his heart.
Ron, you're just pure mean.
Bye, Red. Thanks for calling.
Just tell the truth.
Bye-bye. By the way,
yes.
If bad actors listening, we have not heard from you in a while, and we've been kind of concerned about you, so just let us know that you're okay.
Yeah, Doug, please do. And go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, Miss Bob Cash.
Oh, no, Bob Cash. We talking about you.
I've enjoyed your program this morning. But I wanted to ask you, Red, was she ever a movie star?
She was in that movie down there, The Nights the Lights Went Out in Georgia.
I think she was the redhead in Roger Rabbit, is what I think.
Hey, that might have been where I seen her.
That's right.
Oh, I'd like to see Red. I'm telling you what, and she was right. I got down there at that village shopping center the other day, had to go by and see Alan Jones, and I parked around the back there somewhere. Just talking and walking, got in there, got ready to go. I couldn't find my truck.
I think it was this white truck parked out here that says George W. Bush on the side of it, Bob.
That might have been it. Randy come by. I said, Randy, go get my truck. He's all right there, Mr. Bob. I'll be right back. And sure enough, he got it. Yeah. Hey, Ron, I was going to ask you last week, did you ever find that song that I was wanting somewhere between love and tomorrow?
Yes, by Roy Clark. We played it right after we went off the air.
You did?
Yeah.
Man, I should have kept that radio on.
Well, listen, I'll try to find it again. Somewhere between, what was the name of it again?
Somewhere between love and tomorrow.
I was going to say somewhere between the bed sheets, and I think that was something else, Bob. I'm sorry.
But it was by Roy Clark.
It's Roy Clark. It's a real pretty song.
Yep.
And if you'd be so kind, I'd give you 2 or 3 files.
All right. Hey, I'll do that.
If you'd make me one copy of that on a CD.
I will find it for you and get that done.
Thank you, dear.
I don't care what Red says. You all right.
All right. We'll see, Bob.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bob calling in reminds me that the Tinga reunion is this afternoon from 1 to 5. And if you had relatives in Tinga, they'd love for you to come down and visit with them for a little while and bring some pictures by and show them to them and join us. Bob will be there from the lot selling, I'm sure.
We may have another lot left or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead there, Deb, while I work on something here.
What are you doing?
Talk to Gary.
He's always up to something.
Ask him a question.
Ask him another question. Yep. So, have you had?
That was a good question.
Well, have you had another project?
Well, I worked for 4 days in June back down in Atlanta. There are two different locations. All I can say on this one is that it was it's the sequel to a movie that came out earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And this is the second book of the 3-book trilogy that it's based on.
Okay.
All right.
And so you're not at liberty to say the name of it. No, that's funny. That's funny. And so when you went out to Hollywood, did the movie company pay all your expenses and stuff, or did you kind of have to? That's okay.
You got to get your way there. With the invitation, you're their way there and back and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know that some other friends of ours went out for the 50th anniversary for the filming of Wild River. And that was the same case, but when they got out there, it was fabulous, and it was well worth, the time and effort to get there.
As a matter of fact, the paparazzi, I never get that right, was following David Swafford around, who here in Cleveland, was following him around because he had become the expert on the movie Wild River. So the news media is following him around, and he's going, and Dave's going, I don't know what they want with me, but that's great. So, is it a different world when you go out to a big premiere? I mean, is it something you go like, wow, this is just so cool?
It really is. I mean, it's all that and more.
I went to the theater and it was empty and I was in awe. So I'm sure that when the activity is going on there, it has to just be overwhelming.
Well, I mean, to see in person so many celebrities that you've only seen on screen or on film before, that are right there, and they're just talking, with other people, and
baseball greats, Dave Winfield, and
that, and then like the after party, when we went over to it, it had the baseball theme, and the food that they served there was primarily baseball food. They had hamburgers and hot dogs and pizza and
pretzels,
just all of it. All of that, but they had little couches set up, areas where you could sit, and they had some tables, and where you could just be comfortable and walk around and visit. One of the nice things, I mentioned Lucas Black earlier. He sees me, recognizes me. He always called me Mr. Umpire, and or Mr. Ump, and so he comes over, and his wife's with him, who at that time I think she was like 7 months pregnant, and he stands there, and he talks with us for 15 minutes and talks about the some of the movies, and he was laughing. He said this is a pretty good after party. He said, I've been to some really weird ones and some really wild ones. He said this is a pretty good one. He said it's he said it's kind of in the middle. He said, but this is not the real world. He said my wife and I said we call it Holly Weird.
Holly Weird.
And he had a good perspective on it.
The main character there in 42 that played Jackie Robinson, what is his name?
Chadwick Boseman.
And what was your impression of him? Or did you get?
He was carrying a fine young man. He was carrying a heavy weight on his shoulders, knowing that the responsibility that he had to give a performance that would make that movie successful. So
I thought he did an excellent job. You just see the hatred inside of him having to hold it back, though. And
I think one of my favorite scenes is where he and his wife are walking down the sidewalk, and they're giggling and carrying on, and this gentleman he's working on like a utility pole or something, and he leaves and walks across the street, and you think it's going to be a confrontation, but the guy says, we're with you, Jackie, congratulations or whatever, but you thought there was going to be a confrontation there. And I thought, what a rare thing to happen, and how much something like that must have meant to Jackie Robinson.
Well, you see now Derek Jeter, who is going to retire. Gatorade shot a commercial film, it's a little film. Anyway, he's riding in his limo down to the park, and it's Frank Sinatra's "I Did It My Way" song, the final curtain. Anyway, Jeter says, "Let me out here," and he walks 5 or 6 blocks to the stadium, and there are people coming out and kids and fist bumping him and doing all this stuff. And it was just a great little film to talk about, and then you go back to Jackie Robinson. It wasn't for Jackie Robinson, a lot of these people never played baseball. I mean,
it would have taken a while.
It would have happened, but the wrong person started in that role. I mean, Jackie Robinson, baseball could have been set back. I mean, the blacks entering.
They were looking for someone that wouldn't put up a fight. But so you enjoyed being around him, or
yeah, he was. I call him a kid because I'm so much older, but he's a good kid. He was very focused. He was friendly. He took the time to have his picture taken, with me, after one of the shoots.
Now, isn't he going to be in the James Brown movie?
He did, just back last month, the James Brown. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it because I want to see Chad's
I'm surprised I didn't go see that.
I've seen the promos.
Yeah.
Where he looks like he's doing a fantastic
I'm surprised
job.
they didn't get you in your yellow jacket there to be in the scenes there with James Brown.
Well, he has more taste than that. I guess.
That yellow jacket great me.
It's
even funnier that it.
Jacket. I went,
yeah, that purple Nuru jacket.
I got some pictures from you, to use for our background today, and then I said, "Oh, look at that wardrobe picture." Then you come in and tell me, "Well, those are mine." You wear those every Sunday or something to church, or
I've
that was a real fashion statement in '73. I mean, that
was just kind of the.
Well, Gary was always one of these well dressed.
I don't know about that.
He was, uppity type guy.
From the guy that wore a tie every day to high school, Ron.
But it was an old tie.
but one of the nice things that comes out of the whole experience is being there with the rest of the extras is that there's a lot of waiting time, and so you meet people and you develop friendships with them. Like there were a couple of guys who were coaches in 42. And they've worked on, and both of them live in Atlanta now. Both Greg Rose and Vern Swigert, who were coaches in 42, and both of them ended up, working on the other two projects that I worked on. As far as with Hunger Games, Vern's done some stunt driving, and we've become Facebook friends and kind of follow each other, what's going on and everything. So the time that you're spending with the other extras, you get to know people and what they're doing, and it's really interesting. So it just opens up a different world with a lot of different people that you ordinarily would never have the chance to interact with.
Did they show it in Chattanooga? Was they a first showing in Chattanooga? Did somebody do some type of mini premiere down there?
They had a premiere down at the Majestic downtown, and it was the same night. They had the world premiere on Tuesday night in Hollywood at Grauman's. We flew back on Wednesday, and it was Thursday night. They had the premiere downtown at the Majestic, but also down in Atlanta for the Atlanta crew. And so we just here's another chance, another example of a decision that you make that has influence. We were trying to make the decision: do we go to the Chattanooga premiere, or do we go on down to Atlanta? And I just said, well, let's go on down to Atlanta because there'll be a lot of the people, the crew that will be down there that we'll get to visit with. And it was because we made the decision to go down there that I ran into Rose, the casting director, right before the movie started, that ended up getting me the role in Hunger Games. So if I had gone to the Chattanooga premiere, none of that, the dominoes would have fallen in the right direction.
So you don't have an agent yet?
No. I have a hobby.
Okay.
I have a hobby.
Well, this is so exciting, though. Okay, it's so different and thrilling.
Do you have your shot now with your name on the bottom of it? It says Gary Miller, actor or anything. I mean, do you have a portfolio that you send if they?
No. There's something called the Internet Movie Database.
Yes.
IMDb.com.
Right.
And so when I was upgraded to actor, and I went on, I have a page on there that has my bio and some photos and that sort of thing, so that if casting directors were to see something.
So is your yellow jacket is one of them?
There's one of those shots. Unfortunately,
he can wear bulletproof polyester.
Well, if there's Anchorman 3, you're gonna have to make a new appearance.
They probably saw enough of me in the second one. They wouldn't want to have me in the third one.
I haven't seen that one or Hunger Games. I want to see Anchorman 2 because the first one I thought was just so
Hunger Games
terrible. I mean, so great, but it was.
Terrible.
Hunger Games is one of those don't blinks. You can see me, but it's very quick. Anchorman 2, it was nice. I'm kind of like 42. I'm visible. You just have to be watching for me. But but you don't do it really you hope to get some camera time, but that's not, the reason to do it is for the experience.
Oh, yeah.
That's just to be able to see what's going on and how it's done and see how it all comes together.
We went down when Alabama was at Ingle Stadium shooting their video Cheap Seats. And, we went down. I don't think we ever made it in any of the shots.
Ashley was the only one that actually went over on that side. And, of course, being a child, when they said, okay, everybody line up over here, well, what'd she do? She ran down and got in the front of the line, and then they started putting people in the stadium from the top of the stadium down. So she's like some little speck on the screen. But it was an interesting experience, but it was a whole lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah, we watched a lot of that, just hours and hours to shoot a 3-minute music video, and you thought, go put the camera up. We do documentaries. You get one darn chance when you're with me. We're not going to have different angles, everything. We're, we basically pretty much, unless you belch in the middle of it, we start over.
We laugh that we've been doing quite elderly folks, and we've done people of all ages, but we have problems with our lapel mics because it picks up strange sounds that people make. But anyway, I wanted to mention, if you Ron and I went up Thursday night to the museum appreciation up at the Ducktown Museum, and the state of Tennessee has really stepped up. They've been on the list for a long time to get some major repairs done to the buildings up there to save them, the mining buildings, and they've poured a beautiful floor in the old hoist house.
It's a product that you pour on top of the concrete that adheres to the old concrete, and you rough up the old concrete, then you pour it on there, and then they can level it. And what we saw up there was not approved by the state because it didn't look like it's supposed to. So the company's coming back and having to polish and shine that again. I'm going, my gosh, this was so good. It's great. But but the state said, we paid a lot of money to do this. We're going to get it perfect. And the people who sell the product flew in to Ducktown, Tennessee, or wherever the closest was, and went up there and said, no, we're going to redo that again.
It looked fine to us. We thought it was gorgeous. And it leveled the floor, and it made it safe and usable. And they're going to be renting out that facilities for events. The big drawback is that it's too big for them to heat and cool. And right so now, you're kind of at the mercy of the weather. But anyway, it is usable now, especially for their activities. That's where the money came from, to clear the trees so you can see the softball field now. They're putting they're going to fix a building there that's going to have the local citizens are going to help make the displays there, that they have items in the community that they want on display. Fabulous little museum if you haven't been there.
Well, we're talking about that. We're in the middle of the documentary that's due to come out in April 2015. We need home movies. If you have any home movies of you driving through Copper Hill and seeing no trees, no grass, no dirt, nothing.
Well, there was dirt there, but
about six layers of dirt were left there.
Gary, do you remember Copper Hill looking like that?
Yes.
Yes. It's amazing stories from up there.
We went up there to film, and they're actually cutting down trees.
We thought that was pretty ironic.
There was no trees when I was growing up, and actually cutting down trees and found the baseball field. So if you have old movies or old pictures, that we really need the old 8mm films to do that. So, yeah, go ahead.
I first of all, I'm sure the people of Cleveland and the surrounding area, I hope that you hear it every day, the appreciation that they have for what you two do.
Oh, well.
And I mean, being the documentarians and the historians of this area, I mean, what a tremendous service and what a legacy that you're creating and you're leaving.
Well, I appreciate that.
With all of the work that you're doing. I want to thank you for inviting me to be here today. But I really do appreciate the work you and Debbie do, Ron. It's
we don't get to do many actors.
Well, again,
I think that's some of the fun of the show, is that we just do a wide variety of things, because when you tune in, you really don't know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates.
So, we had a guy it was nominated for a Pulitzer on here, and we've had all kind of people, and we got a Supreme Court justice, but we selected Gary Miller, the actor, to be here today.
We were excited to have someone local.
But a local guy, finding out about behind the scenes stuff. We really appreciate you. And Gary, we tell people every week, you start doing exactly what you ought to be doing. You got to get your old pictures out or your new pictures out from under the bed. Well, somebody wants to talk to us before we go here. Go ahead, caller.
Ron, I've really enjoyed this.
Well, good.
Well, who is this?
Huh?
Who is this?
I'm going to my name is Joe, but Ronnie knows all about me. I talk with him all the time. I wish I could talk with you, too.
Okay.
But anyway, I really enjoyed it, and I did last Saturday. I tried to call in, and the line was busy, and I couldn't get through to tell you that I really enjoyed the guy last week with Arnold Botts.
Yes.
But anyway, Ron, if you don't care, sing me a song.
Me sing you a song? What do you want me to sing?
Yeah, just anything. No, play Martha Carson with Satisfied.
I'll do it. If I can find it on this system, I'll do it.
Okay, and thank you so much, and I really enjoyed this.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
This is why I get up early every Saturday morning, Gary. I love our callers, and we love our listeners. And last night at the racetrack, I would just have people come up to me and say, have you thought about doing this? And have you thought about doing that? And thank you for recording my grandpa talking about racing. And it was pretty exciting.
And if you, one of our many projects at Hardwick's, if you go to hardwick.com or hardwickclothes.com, can't remember which one it is, they have a little 7-minute documentary about the history of Hardwick Clothes. Deb and I were glad to be involved in getting that put together for Hardwick Clothes. So we do that.
135 years of history in 7 minutes. Wow. That's hard to do.
But pull your old pictures out. Talk to your grandparents and your aunts, your uncles, and your neighbors, and write down their story. Take out your phone and copy, record them. You can get recording devices everywhere, cameras. It's important that you do that because history's going to be gone. I'm really worried about history today because we don't print pictures anymore. We carry them on our cell phones, and there won't be any physical copies of these pictures in the future. So
I need something. Let me say something.
Go ahead.
I need a 16-millimeter projector with sound. And I know every school in Bradley County had them, and they got rid of them. So if you're a hoarder, I really need a 16-millimeter projector. It would be the kind like they played the 7th grade biology films on. If you have one, please let me know.
Or old films about Copper Hill, anything, pictures, birthday parties, weddings, anything there. And, folks, we'll always remember about Pearl Harbor, but Deb?
Will we remember Aunt Pearl? See you guys next week.
What's next week? Tell us what's next week.
Just whatever I come up with. I think it's going to be the Valley View community. I don't have a confirmation on that yet. And then the next week, we're going to have Mr. Ogle, if his family can bring him before the UT game. And we just have a lot of great things coming up.
All right. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye. Hey, we'll see you next week here on Old Town Cleveland.
That's fun.
Ah, the sounds of summer. If you had a pool, from Matthews Pool and Spa Company, 902 Sahara Drive in Cleveland, Tennessee. Call them at 423-476-4521 and get the pool or spa of your dreams. Do it now, Cleveland. Locally owned and operated for over 25 years right here in Cleveland, Tennessee, with over 75 years of total experience in the installation of pools and spas. So check out Matthews Pool and Spa for your new pool, spa, or any accessories you may need for a pool or spa you already have. Check them out here in Cleveland on Sahara Drive, 476-4521. Look out, kids, I'm going to jump. Woo!
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Checking